learn anything new because we already know everything. We just don't realize that. And what Marsha and I have been doing is showing and sharing with people the realization of life beyond the linear conception that we have in the third dimension. There are, I should talk about the semantics. That everybody has their own words for things, so you'll have to excuse some of the words that we use. We equate the mind to the infinite source of everything, the multiverse and so forth. The brain has a limited capacity because it's a machine operating in the third dimension. So it has its parameters that it feels threatened by anything outside of its own comfort zone. So if anything that the brain thinks is beyond taking care of the organ system, the cardiovascular, all the functions of the body, it's not interested in it. Get away from me, or I'll defend myself, because you can't tell me that there's flying saucers and stuff like that. It doesn't go there. So in order to comprehend beyond the brain scope, you have to make friends with your brain and put it to sleep. Not that it hasn't been asleep for a long time, but when that happens, and different forms of meditation, and there are hundreds of different forms of meditation, make this quite simple. I mean, when you get into a relaxed position, you just forget about your everyday world and get into a nice, comfortable space in meditation. Then you don't have to think anymore. You can just allow things to start feeling differently within yourself. And when those feelings come, you can interpret them any way you need to not only feel better, but to slowly educate the brain that just stay where you're at. You're going to be growing with me, but you'll have to take it at my pace, not yours. The brain equates to what some people call the ego, and it gets carried away with itself sometimes because it thinks too much. Another thing under semantics is the difference between thinking and feeling. And I might mention at this point, and I already told a few people about it, there's a movie, it's a Hollywood movie with lots of bells and whistles and action and entertainment for people that like, action-packed movies. The movie is called Next, N-E-X-T, and the star in it is Nicolas Cage. And it's a very well done movie in itself, but there is an undercoat to the movie that is very beautiful if you're into your conscious raising and want to know the difference. He, just briefly, because you can get the movie it's on Netflix, incidentally, you can get it on Netflix. He's operating from his feelings, not his thoughts, so that he's always 2 minutes ahead of his choices that have to be made by the thinking process. So he can outmaneuver, and that's where the action comes in the movie. The bad guys are after him, or the good guys, or somebody, and he's always ahead of them because he's using his feelings first. And then it gets into a portion of what we call bilocation, of being able to bilocate himself in numerous, maybe 10 different, 15, maybe 20 different places at the same time. So it's an interesting movie to look at, and you'll get the idea when you see it of what it is. And why I brought that up is because what we're talking about here today is we all of us are already doing this. We just somehow forgot or don't realize that we're doing it. And before this session's over, I'm sure that you're going to see yourself and us and life a lot differently, because of the little shortcuts that we're going to introduce to you that are quite simple. Can you say something real fast? Not fast, but take a breath.
Put the microphone up to your
You want the microphone?
Well, for her voice is harder for me to,
Okay.
I can hear you, Ralph.
Then it'll get out.
Oh.
So many times we're in our intellect, we're into what we think, or what we've been taught, or what we've been programmed. Is that better?
Yeah, yeah,
She wants it up.
it's good.
That's good.
Up a little bit. And so anyway, it's time for us to realize what we are doing, but how, the things that we can do, the things that we are really doing and we don't even know that we're doing. We're using that intuition part of us. All of us do, but we're not aware that we're using it. So what Ralph and I do is talk about what we, things that we do, and these things that we do, all of us do. But it's now time to know that we're doing them, and then you can do more of it. You have more control or more power to bring who you really are out, and use these things to your benefit and to the world, to the benefit of all people around you. All of your, not just people, but animals, rocks, trees, everything. So it's a fun thing to wake up to this. I studied this kind of thing for years and years and years, but finally have put it into walking the talk, you might say, actually into practice. And so we're still learning too, like everybody, but it's so great to actually see these things happen in our lives and know what's going on. Where you think, oh, that was a nice thing, that was a magic trick, or, oh, Source brought us a nice gift. But now it's like we can see, we can put out our intention and it comes to us. And we have to be careful, not, I told Rob, I need a suitcase, because I take my summer clothes and pack them in a suitcase and store them away. About in 2 days, I had 5 suitcases, and I only needed 1 or 2 at the max. So I think when you put your intention out, kind of be specific, or say, okay, that's enough. So.
We've had quite a few things like that happen. I'm gonna stay seated, if it's okay.
Sure.
I need me to stand, I will. The more comfortable I am, I hope I'm making you more comfortable. The ideas of realization are what we want to share, and that comes from experience, and we've all had numerous experiences. We'd like to know about all of your experiences that you've had, and in time we most likely will. But we want to share with you the difference between word semantics, word sculpturing, that can change and elevate our consciousness. And I'm going to start with a real simple level and then lead you to your imagination, because then you can progress it from there into anywhere you want. But if you take a word like realize, we say that all the time. Oh, I realize that, I've been there, done that, or whatever. We use it all the time in our linear, three-dimensional language, and not thinking anything differently about it. But when you slow that down and you start to see things differently as you're going through life, it's no longer a parking lot. You're seeing a beautiful garden there and stuff. Just a glimpse in your mind, you're seeing something that could be more beautiful than a parking lot. And it brings you to looking at things a little differently, and that's equated to realize that the East Indian and the Eastern philosophies and religions equate that to the pineal gland or the pituitary gland, that they equate to seeing things in a greater light, a greater understanding. And when you start to look at things like that, I can't think of an example right now. Can you think of one that you could share with them? Well, It'll
You just
come.
look at things in a real way, in a different way, and see beyond what you've been programmed, I think.
So you have a choice when you're driving along and you're getting a little bored with the trip. You can look out the window and you can see a bunch of trees or people, places, or things, anything you want. And you have the choice of looking at it with your little cameras up here. These operate at a very, very, very slow rate of change. The cones and the rods and everything are subject to what we are creating, and we'll get into that. Well, we better get into that now, because we are creating everything that we vision in the third dimension in I'll have to say milliseconds or well, I could say nanoseconds. Yeah, that's even better. It's very, very quick. The brain can't comprehend what's happening, so it thinks it's real. But everything here is we are imaging it instantly. Then it becomes a reality, not total reality. There's a great difference. And when you put things in frames of reference, then you can look at the different fields or the different dimensions in different ways. And when you equate this table to a table, in the third dimension linear way of looking at it, of course it's a table, it's solid and real and everything. But then you can go into basic science. Science 101, energy cannot be created or destroyed, it goes on forever. And energy is everywhere. And the driving force behind or with or through energy is magnetism. And magnetism is everywhere. We breathe it, we drink it, we eat it, and we live in the magnetic field. Realization is when you start to wake up and you realize, oh, there's something different here happening. Then you've tantalized and you've invited the mind to start operating. And you shut down your thinking and start using your feelings. And when you do this, and you focus on this, just letting, oh, I forgot the rest of the movie. Anyway, he's 2 minutes ahead of himself in everything he does. So no matter what he does, he's ahead of the game. And in one case, the good guys had to find the bad guys or something, and there wasn't enough police officers to go everywhere, so he said, no, you guys take that way and I'll go this way, and he split himself into 15 or 20 different subs. And we also do this, and that's why you guys are here today, to know why and how it happens. It's just a matter of mindsets, but with the mind, not the thinking, because the thinking goes around and around like a ferret wheel or a merry-go-round, and it doesn't get anywhere. If you want something, you're going to keep wanting it forever. If you try to do something, you're going to be trying forever. And the stillness that has to be recognized is where you can change your perspective and realize that, well, who you really are. You are an energy field inhabiting a water vessel. And all this is a machine, and I think we're all happy with the experience of being human, being able to operate the machine, all kinds of picking up things, putting down things, and walking and talking, and having a wonderful time. But it got to a point in our system where we forgot having a wonderful time. It came into work, it came into tediousness and stuff. So a change now is apparent. We are going through a transition, and to make the transition easier, that's where Marsha and I, we've dedicated ourselves to humanity, to Source, and to all of you, from our experiences and what we have been able to realize and accomplish in doing, we want to share it. Marsha mentioned manifesting. Manifesting comes from the mind, that is the brain will try and try and try to manifest something, and it'll never happen. It just keeps repeating into another mistake or another idea. But when you use the mind with intention, not wanting, but you use an intention, and you let it go, you give it back to the universe. You say, well, I intend, and you let it go. Well, it will always happen. Maybe not in the way you expect it to happen, or the way your brain would like it to happen, but it will come. And it will be disguised sometimes with people, places, or things. It doesn't, energy is energy, and it expresses itself on different levels, at different times, with different objects, including people. So when you start realizing that, it opens the excitement in the mind, knowing that help is on its way, or whatever. Your intention will be honored, and it will come to you. But the way it is expedited is by staying out of the way. Close the brain down, get the brain interested in something that it likes to do, and just let yourself go on living and being very comfortable. And I'm getting into, am I okay here? Okay.
Well, I think the awakening, I think that the awakening is happening in all of our lives, and many, many people are awakening now, more than ever before. I think Mark told us there's, the statistics say there's 20% of all people are awakening now. Is that right, Mark?
This is Dr. Mark
Anyway.
Light, he's from
I'm over here.
Okay. Anyway, it's an exciting.
What was your comment on how many people are starting to wake up?
Between 20 and 25% are now waking up, finally.
Finally. And that's exciting because when we first got together, we couldn't even talk about any of this to hardly anybody. They really thought we were kooky and crazy. And we were talking last night how our kids, some of our kids still think we're pretty way far out. You know, they don't, but it's time for all of us because this is a transition time. Right now, we're in it. And it's an exciting time. You see all of and hear about the negativity that's all in everything and around us, but it's the opposite is actually happening. It's a time that's such a basic time of awakening where people are really sharing who they really are and starting to know who they really are. And that's what needs to happen. We were created to be free spiritual beings, and I look at the birds and I think, why do we always have to punch a time clock? You know, we don't have to. We just have to change our thinking about it.
The way we look at things.
Yeah, and I said this one, I think it was at Grass Valley, and some guy said, you want me to go tomorrow and quit my job? Remember that, Holly? And I said, no, I'm not advocating that. But if you're not happy in what you're doing, and this goes along with what Liz Rankins is teaching, and that's another good example.
Let me bring that up now, fit it in there.
Okay.
There's one here, there's a disc here on the table. It's Mind Over Medicine, and that's what Dr. Light and Vicki, his assistant, wife, and friend, are doing. They are working with Mind Over Medicine, with Lessa Rankin. And just a brief idea of what that is. Lisa worked for 10 years or more in residence school, and correct me if I get it off, and then went into her own private practice, and was working with patients every day, the same as most doctors do, but found that there were no real healings taking place. They'd have to come back and take more medicine, more pills, more surgery, or whatever. And she says, wait a minute, I'm gonna stop. I know there's a better way. And just briefly, she did a lot of research and found that the body knows what it's doing, the doctors don't. When you go to a doctor, they'll say, what's wrong with you? And we forget that we always put the doctor in a space where, well, they must know everything about my body, I don't know anything. And that's not the case. So Lisa started the practice with her patients to say, when they had a malady, even as far as cancer goes, and different things that were aforementioned impossible to heal. She would tell them, well, what does your body tell you would make you feel better?
Ask your body.
Ask your body. And then that's asking your mind, because the brain is so busy taking care of its responsibilities, it doesn't have the time to really respond. So you can relax and ask, well, wait a minute, now what is really bothering me? And then you have to soul search, you have to go into your true self, not your synthetic self, but your authentic self. There's a big difference. There's a synthetic and an authenticity. And go into your authentic self, and you'll say, oh, it's my boss. He's been driving me crazy for years. And I've never been able to get anything right. I go home, I yell at my wife, I yell at my kids. I can't get, finances are terrible. Then Lisa suggests, well, quit. And there's a big pause in usually her patients to have by saying, wait a minute, I've got kids, I got grandkids, I got kids going to school, I gotta support them. You can't, that's ridiculous, I can't quit my job. And the other one was your mate. If you had trouble with your mate consistently, and it's just, oh gosh, I can't live with this, but I've got to, and I get into turmoil. Lisa's suggestion is, well, try getting a divorce. Oh, wait a minute, we've been together 5 years, 10 years, or whatever. Same thing. Well, the patients that followed her advice went in and quit their job. No, I'm not gonna do double books. I'm not gonna put up with unsatisfied relationships. And instantly, things started changing in their life. And in many cases, spontaneous remissions have happened, even as much as cancer. They just suddenly, all the maladies go, because the bottom line on our physical ailments is basically can be referred to as stress. When we get under stress, we stop the flow of energy. The cardiovascular, the lymph system, they start slowing down or they get clogged up, and that causes reactions within the body that start, oh, I gotta find a doctor, I can't live with this, so then you go to the doctors. But Lisa doesn't, she still honors the medical profession for what it is. It's just hasn't gone far enough, and that Lisa, if you want to pick up a disc here, has taken it to the next level. Her husband, while she was doing all this research and development, cut his fingers off in the saw.
Yeah.
And she said, go to ER, I can't help you. So there is a place, and more so with medical provision, and to honor that for what they do, because they equip the body in their own way to cope with the malady. And so, anyway, I'll get off of that in a minute. But, the idea is you can use your mind over everything. And when you know that you have an unlimited capacity, your mind, to do anything, then you start creating your own reality in your favor, the way you would like it to be. And by eliminating the things that don't feel good, the things you don't want to do, then start doing the things you'd like to do. We have a great friend. We have a rocket scientist in the audience over here. Took us up to, he worked for NASA for years. He helped put the space station up. And his lovely wife, Carolyn, which is an expert painter. We have one of the paintings in your house that glows. took us up to meet a person in Eugene, Oregon, going by only the name of Max. He doesn't want any, he doesn't have time to explain his whole name or anything. He's a miraculous person that operates multidimensionally. He's got multidimensional things going on all the time. And why did I bring that up? I forgot my point. Huh?
That's great that they knew.
Oh, yeah. Langendoss water.
Oxygenated water.
This is oxygenated water. And what it is, he's got a van. I didn't bring my cell phone. I could have shown him on the thing. Oh, well. He's got a van that he's equipped to produce this water anyway. It's anywhere. It's a mobile van. And
It's an 18-wheeler, it's a huge, big truck.
And he's put $29 million into this one van with all the structures and everything to produce this water. And it's an indescribable water to us, but when we use it, we find that the brain just does its own thing, but we operate from a very higher state of consciousness. We operate from the mind state. And I brought that up for not just.
Yeah, there's so many things that are about water now that are, it is so important for our healing, to bring us back to that state of beingness that is pure, the positive and the wholeness that we were created to, the being that we were created to be. So it's an amazing time.
And these are shortcuts, and take more conscious awareness of what you're eating and what you're drinking, what you're putting in your body. Because the end result is what you're putting in, you're gonna be getting out. I mean, so if you wanna change your consciousness, be very, very careful what you put into your body, and into your mind. And then coming back now to something I tangent in another direction on with word sculpturing. I mentioned changing your mindset, changing your words. I mentioned realize. Instead of just using that word loosely, now you can say, well, I'm using my realize here, and you can see something, just by saying it to yourself, you're programming yourself to say, oh, it's a magnificent day, even though it's raining, because you programmed yourself. You're the only one that has to worry about that. Your brain wants to believe everybody else, well, it's a terrible day, oh, it is, and yeah, you can't go, oh, I can't. But if you put that to rest and always create from your feelings. And another word I'll give you, and then you can expand it from that, is we have a word that gives a negative connotation to it in our linear language, and that word is depression. Somebody being depressed. And we go, oh God, I don't want to bother them. Get them to the doctor, or get them some medicine, or do something about this. Until the guy says, wait a minute, hold it. I'm the one you're calling depressed. I'm in a deep rest. I've gone inside my cave, which is myself. And I'm figuring all this stuff out that you told me, and throwing it out. I'm going to get my own ideas, and when I'm ready, I'll come back out. So the word depressed has now turned into deep rest. See? And by changing that definition alone, oh, wow, I can say depressed anytime I want, because that's a deep rest. And I do it when I get too much out here, I gotta go inside. So anyway, that's another word. And you'll find unlimited words that you can tear down into pieces, dis-ease, and all those words that you can dissect and look at. And you'll find in them the discovery of yourself, because you're changing your ways of looking at things, of feeling about things. When you say depressed, you say, oh. When you say depressed, oh, that sounds good. I mean, it's just a matter of feeling. And that's